Hello, welcome. This is Healthware's online plant-based cooking class. My name is Melissa. I'm Healthware's registered dietitian and personal trainer. Before we get started, I want to post the recipes for today in the comment section of this video so you can easily access the recipes as we're going through this class, or if you're watching the recorded version later on. If you want the printable PDF versions of these recipes, just email me. I'm happy to send them to you. My email is mdavidson, MDAVIDSON @cmhshealth.org. I can email the recipes to you if you'd like the pretty versions that you can print. Right now, let me get these posted into the comments section, and then you can more easily follow along. We have two recipes that we're doing today, so I'll post both of those as comments if I can find the video. There we go. All right, there's one. And here is two. Okay, good. We got it, we're good to go. Let's get started, shall we? As I said, we have two recipes that we're doing today. We have kind of an Italian theme going on for today, so I wore my vegetable apron to go along with our theme. Our first recipe is vegan lasagna with tofu ricotta. We have made the tofu ricotta many months ago, but we just made the ricotta and didn't put it into a recipe. So we're doing kind of the full thing today. And then our second recipe is a vegan, creamy, oil-free Italian salad dressing. And we'll be putting that on a salad, of course. Let's get started. We're gonna do the lasagna first. So I've got all of our ingredients here ready to go. We're going to start with the tofu ricotta. We are going to be moving in the kitchen a little bit during this recipe because I'm going to take you over to the stove to cook some of the vegetables for just a few moments. So you'll get a little bit more of a tour of the kitchen today. Let's start with the tofu ricotta though. That's first on the recipe. I have my bowl here for the ricotta, the tofu to go in. So the first main ingredient, of course, is the tofu. This is tofu wrapped in paper towels. This is the tofu that I'm using today. Just a firm, there you can see it. Just a firm tofu. It's Trader Joe's brand. It doesn't really matter what brand, but a firm tofu, okay? Extra firm is fine too. You don't want soft or silken tofu. Even like a medium tofu is fine. Some brands sell that, but definitely not soft or silken. Okay, you want it to stay you want it to be able to stay kind of as crumbles and not just turn into like a liquid. So this is our tofu block. The first thing you want to make sure to do, of course, open the package, drain it out, and then I wrap it in paper towels and squeeze out some of the moisture. It's okay if it crumbles a little bit while you're squeezing because we're going to be crumbling it anyways in the bowl. So now my hands are all wet. This is our tofu block. It's firm tofu. It's all holding together, okay? If I break it apart, that's what it looks like on the inside. Tofu on its own doesn't really have much flavor. It's not super interesting. So we're gonna make it interesting and put it into our lasagna. So into the bowl it goes. I'm gonna rinse my fingers off now that they're covered in tofu liquid. Hold on. Okay, into the bowl it goes. I'm mashing with a fork just to make, to be a little tidier, but usually when I'm making this just at home by myself, I'll just use my hands to kind of crumble it up. Think kind of like a cottage cheese kind of consistency, I guess. It's okay if there are some bigger pieces, but we kind of want to make sure that there's not just like a bunch of large chunks. So crumbling it all up should just take a quick minute. And you want to make sure when you're squeezing out the liquid that you do get as much as you can out. Some places or recipes will want you to press the tofu to get all the moisture out. It's not totally necessary for this. It's okay to have a little bit of moisture in there if you have it. It's okay. Almost there, and I'll show you what the texture looks like once I've got it all mashed up. Just trying to get the last few large pieces out. And that, by the way, that block of tofu is a 14-ounce block of tofu. They might, depending on the package, it might be somewhere in the 14 to 16-ounce range. That's totally fine. It's not going to make a big difference if you have an ounce or two more. Just the general kind of tofu packages. So this is what we've got. Try not to dump it out. This is our texture that we have when it's all mashed up, okay? Kind of that crumbly sort of texture. And then we're just gonna add all the ingredients in after that. So we've got a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. This is the one that I have right now. Sometimes I'll use Bob's Red Mill, sometimes I'll use nutritional yeast from Trader Joe's. If you're not familiar with nutritional yeast, it kind of has a cheesy sort of taste to it. It's high in vitamin B12. It's yellow. It's kind of a powder. Try to show you without dumping it. I don't know if I can. It's sort of a flaky powder sort of texture consistency. And as I said, kind of tastes and smells like cheese. So we've got that in. Put that off to the side. And then the next ingredient we're doing is Italian seasoning. So I didn't write it in this recipe. I wrote it in our salad dressing recipe though. Do make sure that the Italian seasoning is salt-free. We're adding salt to this. And so if you have an Italian seasoning that has salt in it, some of them do, a lot of them don't. Make sure it doesn't have salt or else this could get really salty. I'm just using a regular old, I think this is from Sprouts. It doesn't really matter. Just an Italian seasoning should have all the right herbs in it. So we're doing 2 full tablespoons. It sounds like a lot, but tofu doesn't taste like much. So we're adding 2 tablespoons. There we go. There's 1. Ooh, getting our second one. Almost there. Good enough. There's 2. Okay. Then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. I've already got some lemon juice here in a container squeezed out. Fresh lemon juice, you can use bottled too. It's not the end of the world. We're only using 1 teaspoon. So it's not going to make a huge difference if you use the bottled version. So there's 1 teaspoon going in. And then we are doing a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Just regular table salt is fine. You can do sea salt or pink salt, whatever you want, but just regular table salt is fine. 1/2 teaspoon of that in. If you like garlic powder, you can also add in a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, all right? As you probably know by now, I don't like garlic, so I'm just telling you you can put it in. I never add it when I make it, and it tastes totally fine. To me, it tastes better because it doesn't taste like garlic. So if you like garlic, put in the garlic powder. If you don't, then don't put in the garlic powder, okay? Carefully, we're now going to just mash this all together. Trying not to dump everything out of the bowl. Sometimes I get messy and get stuff all over while we're here in our cooking class. So just stirring it up, mashing a little bit more if you need to. And you can make this part ahead of time, a day ahead of time if you want. It's totally fine. Just put it in a container, in a sealed container into the fridge. And you can use this for other recipes too if you do stuffed shells or manicotti. What else have I used this for? I think that's probably, yeah, mostly I use it for lasagna. So there's what we have. All right, our finished product there. We're going to set this off to the side, and we'll use that when we're ready to assemble everything. Now I'm going to take you over to the stove, and we're going to cook our mushrooms. So don't go anywhere. Come with me. Traveling. I have a nice little place for you to set up right there. You should be able to see the saute pan. So we're turning on the heat now, kind of a low, medium sort of heat. I don't usually bring you over to the stove, so this is new and exciting, isn't it? Here's our saute pan. This is a non-stick pan. The brand is Green Pan. That's the ones I seem to like. You can buy them at Target, many other places. Non-stick is what makes this the easiest. So you don't need to add oil to cook the vegetables, okay? We just want to soften them, warm them up, kind of soften them down a little bit, and then we'll put them into the lasagna and they'll bake even more in the oven. So we've got this going. The first vegetable we're cooking, these are my mushrooms. I've already sliced them up. You'll need about 3 cups. So that's really, it's just one of those regular sized 8-ounce containers that you find at most grocery stores of mushrooms. I buy whole mushrooms and then chop them up myself. Just in kind of, there we go, thin slices. That's not in focus. There you go. Thin slices. It doesn't matter too much how big or small they are really. We're going to add them into the pan and we're going to cook them down. Mushrooms contain a decent amount of moisture. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what just happened. Someone just called me. I even did do not disturb and someone is still calling me. How is that possible? All right. So, back to the mushrooms. Mushrooms do contain a decent amount of moisture once you start cooking them. That's what we're waiting for, is the moisture to start being pulled out of the mushrooms and for them to decrease in size. If you do find that your mushrooms are sticking way too much in the pan, just add a few sprinkles of water and that should kind of help get them loosened up enough. So you notice mine are sticking even just a little bit. I think you might be able to see that. Mine are sticking a little bit, but as we let them sit here for longer, we want to make sure our heat isn't too high. Turn it down a little. You don't want the heat to be too high or else they'll just all stick and burn. We want it to be kind of that medium to low side of the heat so that we start heating them and the moisture starts getting released. So I'll show you when that starts happening. So here we go. I will show you what I mean. Hopefully I don't fog up the camera. So I don't know if you can see, but there is some bubbling going on here in the middle of the pan. So that, someone keeps calling me. Hold on. Do not disturb. Okay, hopefully we're good now. So you can see that the moisture is now starting to come out of these mushrooms. That's what we want. We keep cooking them. Now you can tell that they're all not sticking. So if you have a non-stick pan, just hold on for a minute while the moisture is released, and then you'll have no problem keeping them off of the pan. Okay? Put you back over there. Okay, so gonna let these cook down just for a moment or so. We want them to be decreased in size. I like to cook my vegetables ahead of time in lasagna so you don't run the risk of having those undercooked when the actual lasagna is done. You want to make sure everything is done, actually. The other vegetable that we're using is spinach. So I've got 2 cups over here of spinach, just regular raw spinach. I like to tear it up as I put it in here so you don't have long pieces of spinach in the lasagna. If you don't like mushrooms or if you don't like spinach, you could use something else. I would recommend maybe some zucchini. For that one, I would definitely cook that one down first into maybe, I would probably chop it, diced. Cook that one down first. It's a very lot of water in that product in that food as well. So you want to try to get as much water out as you can, see, as we are here with the mushrooms, cooking them down, and so they won't be raw when you go to cut into your lasagna. So our mushrooms are looking pretty good. You can see again that they are somewhat decreased in size, right? So we're gonna go ahead and add in, get you situated. We're gonna go ahead and add in the spinach. So I've got my 2 cups and it is packed, so I kind of had it pressed down a little bit to get a lot of spinach, because spinach cooks down so small, as you probably know. And I'm just tearing it up. Nothing special. Tearing up some of the big pieces. That's a soggy piece, we don't want that. Tearing up some of the big pieces. Get my other cup here. And as you probably know, spinach cooks decently quickly too. And then we'll get back over to the countertop and we can assemble our lasagna. A little bit more. So it looks like a lot of spinach right now. I promise it'll look like not enough spinach here in about a minute. As I said, you can use kale for this instead. Maybe I didn't say that. You could use kale instead if you didn't want to use spinach. If you have kale in your fridge right now. I prefer kale that doesn't have the big stems in it. So if you have kale, make sure that you take the stems off. Spinach does have some of the small stems on it, but they're not quite as woody, I guess you would say. They're not quite as woody as the kale stems. So this is looking about right. The spinach will continue to wilt a little bit more as we just let it sit here in the pan for another minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off. Just a couple quick minutes. We've got our vegetables ready to go. And let's head on back over to the countertop. Here we go, across the kitchen. Welcome back. Here we are. Make sure you can see me. Good. I'm going to bring our vegetables back over with us. Here's our veggies. Now we're ready to assemble. This is actually technically a 9x9 pan, okay? I only had one 8x8 pan and I made our final product in it. So this is a 9x9 pan. Use whatever you have at home. An 8x8 is more preferable, I suppose. 8x8, 9x9, it doesn't really matter. Whatever your lasagna noodles fit in is fine. So we've got our pan. I hope you'll be able to see this. I've got our pan. And then the other ingredients we need is our pasta sauce, marinara sauce. Sometimes I will make my own, but we all like our pasta sauce different, I assume. You may have a particular brand that you prefer. This is the one that I'm using for today from Trader Joe's. Just a regular old pasta sauce. When you're choosing pasta sauce, try to look for something that doesn't have a ton of sugar added into it. And also some are sneaky and they will add cheese into the pasta sauce. So read the ingredient labels. Make sure they don't have Parmesan or whatever other kinds of cheese, because that's not a plant-based food, right? That's the point of this class. So make sure you read the labels. No animal products in there, no cheese, and look for lower sugar and lower fat. We don't need to have tons of oil in our pasta sauce. I don't think this one has any oil in it. A lot of them will have soybean oil added to them, so try to avoid the sauces that have a lot of oil and a lot of sugar added into them. And then our other ingredient is our lasagna noodles. I want to talk about these for a moment too. For this recipe, I do have the oven ready, no boil type of noodles, and those work great. Whole wheat ones, there are brands of course that you do need to boil ahead of time. Whole wheat ones may need to be boiled ahead of time. Just read your package to find out if they are the boil free kind, the oven ready kind, or if they do require boiling first. I also like using the wide noodles usually, so the full wide ones, not the long, thinner strips of ones. These, I want to talk about these. These are from Trader Joe's, kind of the basic lasagna noodles. They're not whole wheat. The basic lasagna noodles that Trader Joe's has. It's pasta. It's just a noodle. Think it's just carbs. But if you read the ingredient, this contains eggs in it. Some of the pastas do. I don't know if you can read that. It's pretty small. But you can see that it includes eggs in the ingredient. So technically, this is not plant-based either. You'll have to read the package labels to find what is actually plant-based. So today, I am using, this is actually a gluten-free version. It's made from, I think it's corn and rice flour. That's the only ingredients in it. This is from Target. These are gluten-free noodles. You don't have to use gluten-free noodles, whatever you want. This is the wide sheets that I'm talking about. The ones from Trader Joe's might be a little bit wider. So 6 noodles is what I recommend, but that's only if you're using wide ones and like an 8x8 pan. So you may need a few more. The nutrition analysis is based on just 6, okay? So to assemble, we've got sauce, noodles, vegetables, and our ricotta that we made ahead of time. So I've got my sauce here already in the container, about 2.5 cups, give or take a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit into the bottom of the pan. We're not using any oil for this recipe, not necessary. Putting a little bit of the pasta sauce in to cover the full bottom of the pan so that the noodles have some sort of moisture underneath to be able to soak up. Ooh, made a mess there. So just a thin layer on the bottom, and then we're doing the noodles. I'm sure that you have your own methods of making lasagna. This is how I do mine. So little sauce, 2 noodles if you're doing an 8x8 pan. This is a 9x9, like I said, it's a little bit big. And then we add in doing half of our ricotta recipe. Half-ish, it doesn't have to be an exact measurement, okay? Half-ish of the ricotta mixture. I like to press it down just a little bit to get a nice solid layer. Keep the lasagna a little bit tighter together. Okay? I know you can't really see that very well. There you go. Okay, and then we're adding in half of our vegetables as well. Probably in your pan there will be a little bit of moisture from all the vegetables cooking down. Try not to scoop up that part if you can, but not the end of the world, but try not to get too much of the moisture into the lasagna. So again, half-ish, just kind of scooping those right on over the ricotta. Good. Ooh, a little drippy. Spread those over evenly. Right on top. Okay. And then I think our next is marinara, right? Spooning over just a little bit more of the marinara, enough to cover all of those layer ingredients we did. So the sauce is meant to help also cook the noodle. So you do want to make sure you have enough moisture in there that the noodles can soak it up and get soft and cooked. There we go. So I'm going to put 2 more noodles on. I don't know about you, but I like to alternate my noodles. So I put 2 this way, and then the next layer, I'll put them the opposite way, and then I'll finish with the original way. I don't do them all the same direction. That's just me. So I give them also a little bit of a press down, not to break the noodles or anything, but I try to pack it down a little bit tighter, okay? And then, so this is where we are right now. And then we add the rest of our ricotta on top. Carefully, not spilling anything on myself. There we go. We can set that over there. The rest of the ricotta on top, again, pressing down just a little bit. Obviously, the tofu ricotta is a little bit crumbly, so that's why I try to press it down. to keep the lasagna itself from being crumbly when we cut into it too much. So there we go. This is where we are. And then we add the rest of our vegetables on top of that. Trying to avoid all that moisture as well if you can. Okay. Putting those on evenly. I had a lot more vegetables in my first layer, I think. I'll show you what that looks like now. There we go. And then finally, a little bit more sauce on top of this. You may find that you need more or less sauce. Kind of it's okay if you use more, it's okay if you use less. There we go. Again, just making sure to get enough to cover all of the layer, the toppings. Okay, and then we add our final 2 noodles. Going back the original way. Which way did I do the original way? I think it was this way. And again, pressing down just a little bit on those. Okay, you can see I pressed down and kind of getting the ingredients squished together a little bit. And then, of course, topping with a little bit more sauce to cover the noodles so that they can cook fully in the oven. Okay. Almost there. If you had some sort of vegan shredded cheese, you can have that on hand to sprinkle on top, kind of in the last few minutes of the bake if you want, but not necessary. I didn't use all my sauce. It's okay, it's not the end of the world. There is all of our layers, okay, into this pan. So once we have it all assembled, then we're going to preheat our oven. So that's preheating to 375. While it does that, the lasagna is just going to rest. It lets some of the noodles soak up some of the sauce so that they can cook a little bit more thoroughly while it's in the oven. So we'll pretend I'm gonna go click the button, preheat the oven, set this aside, and then we're also going to pretend that, the oven timer just went off. We've got our lasagna, it's all finished. Ta-da! So I use my glass so you can actually see this one, the final lasagna. There is what it looks like. It's not hot right now. I've refrigerated it already. So this is what it looks like. I've already cut it into 9 squares. That's what the nutrition analysis is for, is the 9 squares, or 1 square, 9 pieces. Got our little plate. I'm gonna try to get out a piece of the lasagna without ripping it apart. The goal is to have it stay kind of assembled, right? Oops, I dropped my lower noodle. Hang on, hang on. There we go, I think I got it. We made it. So this, there we go. This is what we look like, all finished, all cooked. This, like I said, I cooked this one before and I have it refrigerated, so it's holding together nicely. But once you finish cooking it, make sure that you let it rest. If you're gonna eat it right away, let it rest for at least 20 minutes so it has time, number 1, to cool down and to set a little bit. There's lasagna. I took the middle piece. Let me know if you have any questions about any of this recipe. Kind of a little bit of an involved one for us today, but really not too complicated. There's not a lot of ingredients. So any questions, let me know. Any substitute for the pasta? Yes, so sometimes if you're trying to make it a lower carb type of food, you can actually take zucchinis and cut really thin slices of the zucchini and use those as, you could use them as the entire noodle if you wanted to. It might be good for structure to have maybe at least 1 layer of noodle to kind of hold stuff together a bit better. But I have done it where I do thin slices like the long way. So if you have the zucchini, cutting it this way, okay? Cutting long slices and using those, layering those instead of the noodles for the most part. That would be a lower carb option. Make sure that you don't cut the zucchini too thick because it does take a little bit longer sometimes to cook in the oven. So if it's thinner, then you should be okay. I have had issues with cooking the zucchini in the oven when I made it too thick. So, thin slices. Good question. That was a very good question. Any other questions? Let me know. I'm going to clear off some of this and we'll get to the next recipe. I think we need a few of these things. There we go. We'll keep that. Alrighty. So our final recipe is a salad dressing recipe. And this is it has a special ingredient in it that you might not see coming. So we've got just a little blender, that's what you'll need. Nothing special, I'm just using a NutriBullet. Nothing fancy about it, it's just small, that's all. So we're gonna plug this guy in. Uh-oh. There we go, I can barely reach. Gonna plug that guy in. Ooh. Get all my ingredients out so we can get that out of the way. All right, now we're moving on to the creamy oil-free Italian dressing. I've got my blender. The first ingredient we're doing is beans. That's what makes it creamy. Beans. Unexpected, right? So I'm using Great Northern beans, white beans, whatever you usually call them. I'm using just the Trader Joe's Great Northern beans. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of cooked, or canned. If you're using canned, make sure that you rinse and drain those. Get the broth or the brine, the liquid. Get the liquid out. Drain that out. 1.5 cups is about one of these regular size cans, the 15.5 ounce cans. It's about 1.5 cups. So that makes it easy. 1 can right into that blender, just like that. And then we're doing 1/2 cup of water. I already measured it out. It's in here. There we go. 1/2 cup of water, nothing special about that. And then we go back to our fresh lemon juice that I've already squeezed. We're doing 2 tablespoons of the fresh lemon juice. There's 1. And there's 2. 2 tablespoons of that. And then we're back to our Italian seasoning as well. Salt-free again, make sure of that. And we're doing 4 teaspoons of that. So I should have taken the top off of this, I guess. So there's 1, and 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Got that in. And then we're doing a 3/4 teaspoon. Where's my 1/4 teaspoon? There we go. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. So there's 1/4, 2/4, and I ran out of salt. 3/4, just enough. Lucky. All right. And again, if you like garlic and onions, you can add 1/2 teaspoon of each garlic powder and onion powder. Totally up to you. I don't like them, so I don't add them. But if you want, pretend I'm putting them in right now. Okay? Oops. That's everything into the blender, lid on. And I'm just gonna blend this. You wanna make sure it is fully creamy and smooth. So I apologize if it's loud. Mute your computer or your phone right now if you want. It shouldn't be too bad. So we'll just blend it until it gets there. It doesn't take too long though. Okay, so we've got it. You can see it's decently liquid. If you want it to be a little bit less liquidy, you could add just a little bit less water. If you want it to be more thin, you could add more water, of course. Okay, so there is that. I've got our salad ready to go. I didn't make a particular salad for this recipe because a salad can be any kind of thing. I recommend, what would the Olive Garden do? Some sort of green, maybe some cucumbers, tomatoes, olives if you have them. I just have a simple garden salad. Goes well with any type of dressing. So I'll show you what it looks like. I don't think you can really see that very well. I'm gonna dump it out if I lean it too far forward. So this is kind of our thin consistency, pourable, like a salad dressing should be. I'll hold it up like that, okay? You can see it's that Italian sort of look. And right on to our salad. That's 1 tablespoon. The serving size is actually 2 tablespoons, which is quite a lot for that salad I just made. 2 tablespoons. It's a very low calorie salad dressing, and you'll also notice it has fiber and protein. Not a ton, of course, because it's not a very big serving size, but it has fiber and protein, which is definitely not usual for salad dressing, and it comes from the beans that we used. So it's kind of nice. It's not a super high carb salad dressing, not a super high fat salad dressing. There's no fat in this salad dressing recipe, but you're getting some other good stuff, protein and fiber. So this is what we look like. I think you can kind of see that. Ooh, I'm gonna dump my salad over. There is our creamy Italian salad dressing. So we've got our full Italian feast. If you wanted to make it a full meal, of course, maybe add some whole grain bread. That might be nice. And we made it. Thank you all so much for joining me for our class today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in that comment section on this video if you're watching live or the recorded version later on. I'll be able to see whatever you type in there. Happy to answer any questions. Like I said earlier, if you want the PDF printable version of these recipes, just email me. I will add my email in the comments. If you would like to just shoot me an email, I'll get those sent over to you right away. This is the last time I will be in this kitchen cooking for you. I'm moving. We are moving. So next month, I will be in a totally different kitchen. So won't that be fun? Until next time, I will be here tomorrow to teach strength training in the same house. Hopefully I will see you all then. Don't forget also, if you want to be part of our October weight loss challenge, that's about to get started next week. Shoot me an email if you want to participate in that as well. Happy to have you join in. I think that's everything now. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Oh, thank you. Oh. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow morning, or at least next month, the 4th Wednesday for this class again. Bye.